Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Champions of Inspiration. Today we've got a global thought leader, TEDx speaker, keynote speaker, author, consultant, holistic coach, health and wellness expert, purpose practitioner. No, it's all in one guest. My guest, Christin Collins. Thanks for joining us here on Champions of Inspiration.
Scott, thank you. You are the one who inspires me. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you. You're doing so many great things. Why don't you give everybody a little foundation, because you talk about really finding it within yourself. Share a little bit about what that means, and then we'll just go from there.
Love it. Thank you. And there's been a long road to this moment. But the real catalyst was I found myself as a healthcare executive overseeing the health and well-being movement for this very large healthcare system. And I was eating very well and exercising beautifully. And yet I still had chronic disease that no one could solve for. And that was very frustrating and very scary. And it was with that new awareness that something is not working and I need to figure this out myself because I wasn't finding the answers. I discovered that I had some unresolved trauma that I needed to revisit, and that all of the health and happiness and abundance that I was looking for outside of me actually already existed within. And that was really knowing and loving who I was, as unique or different as that may be. And that was my journey through ill health to reconnect with self and fall in love with self.
Well, I think that, the body is an amazing thing. The only thing that heals the body is the body, or you can take it one step further. The only thing that heals the body is the power that made the body. True statement. You can't argue it. And so we have so much innate intelligence within our body, and disease is really dis-ease that has been caused inner turmoil with yourself, right? You get into a massive argument. You know what it's like when you're arguing with somebody outside yourself, right? What is it like when it's happening inside yourself?
I love that. And Scott, I think coupled with, as I aged, I'll speak from an I perspective, I justified and accepted new normals of discomfort and dis-ease. And I thought, I'm just getting older. This extra weight makes sense, or this lower back pain makes sense, or this new skin rash or whatever it may be. I thought my body was shifting because of aging. And I am here to report that that was inaccurate. And it was really getting comfortable and reconnected to self and letting go of that discomfort, that I was able to heal my own body through remembering.
I think, it's amazing that we have this innate intelligence that most people have never probably even heard that they have it, right? I mean, it's just something that's not taught commonly. And it's only when we start seeking, as we become more mature, and that's code word for older, as we become more mature, we tend to seek for maybe more holistic solutions, correct?
Yes. And I marvel at folks who don't hit a really large tipping point like I did. If you can figure this out before you get to an acute state, good for you. For me, it took an emergent situation to wake me up. I remember that I felt that it was external things that dictated my health or my happiness or my abundance, my satiation. And my first awareness that that was actually not the case was through food. And I feel silly sharing this, but I did not understand that what I consumed literally, as well as emotionally and mentally and spiritually. But at that point, it was as simple as physical intake on food. I'm like, that's making me ill. How come no one has ever said this to me before? But I went all through school and all through adult life, not understanding that what I consumed, what I chose, was actually what was making me ill. So something as basic as that is not well known.
Well, and I think it's funny. I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. I think for me personally, I inherently believe everybody is good, that they want to do good for me. And it's only through, again, experience and some other things you start to find out that might not always be the case. and that, you know, some of our foods and some of the things that we think are really good for us are really not,
Are very well marketed,
are
right?
very well
Very well
marketed.
marketed,
Yes.
you know, healthy or low fat or low sugar. And so we are very busy consumers going about our very busy days. And I, like you, I'm Pollyanna. I tend to believe, oh, I read the label. I think the bigger question becomes if it comes in a label, maybe you pause right there because, you know, we were gifted everything we need to consume from Mother Earth. And the fact that it's coming in a package is actually your first pause.
Yeah, great point. This goes back, you know, I started speaking in the chiropractic and holistic industries back about 2003. And I'll never forget the first time I heard somebody speak on aspartame as an example. And at the time, I mean, of course, you don't drink a sugar drink because that would be bad for you. Boy, a diet drink with aspartame was just fine. And I heard the facts. Aspartame turning to formaldehyde at 103 degrees. Of course, we were sending it to our troops in the Middle East, and it was sitting on a tarmac at 135 degrees. We're poisoning our own troops and not recognizing it. Somebody knew it. They didn't know it.
Right.
And
And
and and I think I bet you since that time, and this was probably 20 some years ago now,
yeah.
I bet you I have had a handful of diet drinks with aspartame since.
Well, you were the one that famously taught me that we don't know what we don't know. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, the literal awakening of what I consume food wise and how that affected my body, that was my first aha. So maybe for some folks, that is their first opening. I have a feeling a lot of folks who are attracted to your work already know that. And where my journey led me as a vegan triathlete with over 100% inflammation. I'm like, how can that be? I eat great. I work out like a fiend. I physically look normal. What is going on? That was my proverbial bop on the head to start understanding how I was thinking and how I was living my life trying to control a whole bunch of things I wasn't in control of was actually making me deeply ill and destroying my autoimmune system.
Um, wow, autoimmune. My sister was misdiagnosed with lupus 40 some years ago. And finally, only 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, did they realize it was something else. So she has been treated inaccurately for many years. And the physical fallout from that been phenomenal. The drug cascading and the various things that happen.
I'm sorry that happened to your sister. And one of the wake up calls in that portion or that chapter was when I was trying to address a seemingly unrelated symptom and I was prescribed opioids
Wow.
and given a steroid. And my husband, by the thank you, said, don't fill that prescription. I'm like, why? The doctor gave it to me. And he said, those are addictive. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Why would a doctor give me something addictive? We don't know what we don't know, as you always say. So it was really an aha. And you also said, nobody knows for ourselves better than ourselves. So
Yeah.
sitting in the discomfort of listening to self when you're receiving professional or friend or colleague information that's contrary to how you intuitively feel, that's the work right now. That's the message is know who you are, be comfortable in your own skin, be open and curious and be in wonder of all this other information and opportunity around you, but pause and connect and find your truth, find your pathway that may not be the pathway that you're being advised.
Yeah, I think that that's a really spot on statement is um, from the standpoint of we don't, you know, we listen to advice, we don't do. I think we're in actually a time, I think the point where I was going is I think we're in a time of a great reawakening, or maybe it's not a reawakening, maybe it's an awakening, right? That we we have taken things um, as presented. We haven't questioned. We we have lost our curiosity. People have made the presentation of things so compelling, right? We have gotten so lazy beyond taking the path of least resistance, right? It's, well, give me a pill for everything. Only to find out maybe that pill is, I'm amazed when I watch uh, pharmaceutical ads, and the vast majority of the ads is disclaimers on the side effects. And, well, you'll be happier tomorrow. Your left arm will fall off, but you'll be happier. You didn't need that arm anyway.
Or the opposite, your left arm won't fall off, but then you'll be miserable. And
Exactly. You'll be totally depressed and increased chance of suicide. What?
we are so busy addressing the symptoms instead of getting to the root. And that's exactly the messaging right now, is sitting in the discomfort, getting curious about it, wondering what the takeaways are for you. Is this a lesson for me? Am I holding space for someone else to learn a lesson? What's going on here? And we are such a society of getting out of discomfort as quickly as possible. We don't really know how not to gravitate towards immediate answers or stuffing, dissociating, right? Numbing. So I now take all into consideration with curiosity and assess and try to sit through that discomfort and find my inner knowing. And we are a culture right now where it has been about fitting in and keeping up with, and our uniqueness and our diversity are not celebrated. You don't fit in, and everyone putting up and presenting their best lives. And we work to aspire to that. I feel it's the opposite of that, that we are supposed to all be different, because I don't know who I am if I don't experience other who is different. And how boring would this life be if we were all exactly the same? What would the point of that be?
There are opposites for a reason, right? The yin and the yang. You can't have one without the other. You can't have positive without negative. You can't have, uh, you can't have polar opposites. Now, what my opinion is, we have gone too far to the polar opposite. I mean, you are either this or this. And the reality is, again, a big part of my platform is to return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet. Respect is how I treat you. Honor is how I lift you up. Dignity is the feeling we both leave with after the first two are accomplished well, right? So it's really about, you are entitled to your opinion, and I should respect that. I don't have to agree with it. I should go that way. Now, one of the ways that I know that you're working with clients and working with people to really help, you've got a great process called Be Love. Walk us through that and help us understand how that can be of service to everybody.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I want to put the acronym up for folks, and notice that there are two sentences complete with a period. They're lowercase intentionally. When B period, love period started showing up for me, and I was just like, wow, that really resonates for me. It was very, very simple. We have two tasks. One is to be in this moment. This moment is all we've got, right? Stop
Right.
fretting about a future that we don't control or a past that's already gone. Let's connect with this moment. And that's what B period, end of story, represented. And in that moment, we can reconnect with what we truly are, and that is love. So, Scott, that's how it showed up for me for 2 years, was that as a tagline, simply because it was that simple. As I connected with other folks and I was trying to articulate what was going on in my 55 years of life and, my brain, I realized that Be Love meant more than that to me. And each letter and the two periods actually stand for a way, a process, some ideas that people can explore and enjoy to reconnect and fall in love with themselves, so that they can show up comfortable, right? And connect with each other, with whether family, community, work, and Mother Earth, right? So if we can
Right.
heal ourselves and show up holy and calm and surreal and love, we're going to act different to other, and we're going to act different to Mother Earth. And that's the premise. So very quickly, B stands for breathe. Take a big old breath, right? Start centering yourself in this moment. E stands for experience emotions. So what starts happening when you stop doing and you breathe? A lot of us immediately start feeling something that maybe we don't want to feel, whether that's love or anger, jealousy, doesn't matter. And we remove ourselves very quickly. So the period stands for pause. So breathe, experience, pause. Don't do anything. Ponder, be curious about it. Don't be threatened by it. And then the L in love stands for let it go. Exhale it. It's all good. It was a feeling. You are not that feeling or emotion. You are the essence or being experiencing that, right? From that place now of release, we can O, open our hearts, reconnect with who we are, why we are, that is love. And from our open hearts, we can V, cast that vision, that heartfelt vision, not the ego head-based vision, but that beautiful open heart. And with that open heart and casting that vision unattached to the outcome, we energetically elevate and resonate our frequency. And then we end with that final period of presence, because the present is in that heart-based moment where we've energetically ascended, and then we transcend right back up to the top and experience that all over again. And that's what be love means to me.
That's awesome. I love when I'm an acronym guy from way back. I always believe that if we can utilize an acronym and people can remember the acronym, they'll remember the steps or remember the process. So I love that. But I think that the simplicity of it as well, we don't take the time to breathe. It's funny, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he said, I can help your hips because you're not breathing properly. I went, what? And he said, oh yeah, no, there's some breath work that you can do. And I said, okay, that's news to me. So you learn something new. But then I think the next part is really experiencing those emotions. I think far too many people, I think we're kind of numbed out in this day and age. We spent 2.5 years now in a fairly unprecedented situation. We're finding out things about it now that if we knew in the beginning wouldn't have made us happy. And I'm guessing they're probably not making us happy right now. So there's a lot of mixed emotions. There's a lot of very fiery emotions, right?
Yeah,
As
we
one of
don't
my
we don't know what to do with them, right? And to your point, immediate gratification, we can grab the phone, we can grab the bottle, I can go on Amazon and order anything I want. We can deter ourselves from experiencing. And Scott, I really find when I connect, I like to bring into this space that disconnecting from emotions. A lot of us go to trauma and seemingly negative emotions, anger, jealousy, hate, fear, what have you. I had actually gotten pretty okay sitting in those emotions and releasing them and managing those and experiencing those. My challenge, which I'm just kind of putting the finishing touches on, was actually experiencing love. Because if I let you love me and I let you into this heart that was a steel trap, you could actually hurt me. You could really hurt me. And so I was having difficulty receiving and experiencing positive emotions, which boiled down to other, but it also boiled down to self. Really like being like okay and loving myself and forgiving myself for really things that I didn't do, but I still had shame or guilt wrapped into. So
Yeah.
I brought that to this space because a lot of us have challenges in being in the moment because we don't want to receive from self or other.
Yeah, I'm a recovering poor receiver. So I get it. I come from the Ziegler camp. The first quote that hit me became my life mantra many, many, many years ago. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. I loved the positioning of it. I loved everything about it. I was very fortunate to talk to Zig about it before he passed multiple times. And Um, but we tend to, at least I'm speaking for me, go a little bit too far in the pendulum sometimes, right? And I've it's been called to my attention that I need to be a much better receiver. And so that's what I love about doing these shows. And you and I were talking about it before we started. Every time I do a show, my guest seems to now give me one, two, three more guests for the next shows, which I gratefully receive. Now, I don't question. I mean, if they feel that, they've just lived through the experience, and if they feel that somebody needs to get their message out, I'm all for it. So I love the simplicity of that process and going through and getting, again, experiencing the emotions. But I think a lot of what you said is very spot on. It's not the emotions outwardly or from someone else. It's the emotions internally, and could be negative self-talk, could be all of a sudden something comes up, a situation from the past. I was working with Jack Canfield one day, and he said, um, I don't even remember exactly what we're working on, but he said, "Can you imagine your dad walking down the stairs in the morning to breakfast, meeting your mom at the table? Here you are sitting there." And he looks over and says, "Hey, what are we going to do to screw up Scott today?" That never happened, right? But we're somewhere in our psyche from time to time, we develop those stories. And that's really what you're talking about working with here, is letting those stories. That's the L in love, is letting that go.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that becomes the first part of letting that pre-imagined story dissolve, right?
100%. And we don't know we're doing it often. And as you know, energy is to be balanced with giving and receiving. I lived 54 years in one direction, and that was output. I liked myself a lot when I was giving, and I didn't need you to like me. I liked me giving, right? And
Mhm.
I also then deflected receiving, and that's not an energetic exchange. That's living a life one way. And that's when my body gave out and said, "Stop it. This is ridiculous." And it's been a journey to receive. It's been very interesting. And I thought I was receiving, but that was the cognitive word. It was I thought I was receiving, I thought I was open to it. And then I found out that I was doing the openness to receiving from my ego instead of opening up my heart. And Scott, I feel now that my heart is open when I'm being loved or when I'm being whatever, hated. That living a life with a closed heart for me is actually not living. It's existing, it's surviving, it's not it. And that's why get in the moment and then reconnect with love and casting who you want to be from that place of wholeness and love. No one else can hurt you because you know who you are, you love who you are, and the rest is up to the universe.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I just think it's a great process to live more fulfilled. I mean, it's interesting. Again, we live in very interesting times. There are
Yes.
people that are um, pushing for more and more and more, and I want to be an influencer, and I want to have a gazillion followers and all that. And you go, why? Mother Teresa said it: if you can't feed 100, feed one. Right?
Yep.
Have a positive.
They can create all that, they can study it, they can work really hard at it and create that all day long. And I'm not judging that. That's cool. It's from here. And I find that I'm attracted to the folks who are authentically sharing from here.
Yeah.
And that resonates for me energetically at a level that attracts me. And that's what I hope my work supports other who's are ready to really look and introspect and are tired of the same old giving the same results. It's not outside, it's in here, guys. And, I'm happy to help support folks reconnect and really enjoy the remainder of this lifetime from that just solace, that gorgeous, surreal place of wholeness.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. It- uh, gosh, I'm trying to think who I was talking to yesterday, but we were talking about, the ducks on the pond. Aren't they magnificent? Aren't they just, look how calm they are. And their little feet are going like 200 miles an hour underneath the water, right? They're paddling and paddling and paddling, but they look so stately, right? And I think, unfortunately, so many people have gotten into the look, right? That
Yeah,
it's
that it
as
looks like.
opposed to the experience.
And I'll tell you, again, I'd love to say I was brilliant and I had this big aha. I was forced because I thought I was amazingly happy. My life by all measures was phenomenal. And it still is phenomenal. It's just very different now because it's from a different place. So I didn't know. And I think a lot of us are so busy creating from here. I've got the spouse, my kids are doing this, I've got this degree, I've got this job, I've got, all the things. And I had and still have all the things. But my body was showing me, girl, you're missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point. So
Yeah.
my question for folks who are attracted to this conversation is, it might look great on the outside to others or for yourself, but when you sit in the now and you pause, what's bubbling up for you? And are you ready to look at it and embrace it and exhale it so you can dive deeper into your heart, not what you think you're supposed to have, do, feel, acquire?
Yeah, and again, the pandemic has broken some of the rules. I got a buddy out in California who used to drive 2 hours to work and 2 hours from work, and that was normal. And
Yeah.
he thought he loved it, and thought that he was living an experience. And at first, having to shelter at home and be there with his kids and work and do all that there was a little learning curve.
I can imagine.
But he ended up, when they said, okay, we're going back into the office, he goes, I'm not. And they said, well, we're going to demand that everybody does. And he said, well, then I guess I have to resign. And he said he learned this amazing lesson about time with his family and what was really important and all the different things. And I think the one thing that the pandemic, again, there's good in less than good in everything. I think the good that's come out of this is the awakening of, I don't have to do things the same. I don't have, I mean, heck, I got on an airplane on Sunday, came back on Friday, spoke 8 to 10 times a week for almost 6 years. Just thought that was normal. And now I went and picked up my lovely wife at the airport this morning. I was like, gosh, I do not miss coming here at all.
We really are prioritizing what is important to us as we re-enter. And I love where things are going as people are starting to pop out and reemerge. And a lot of folks are interested in reemerging differently now. And it is from a much different place. So it's an honor and a privilege to connect with folks as they, embrace the concept of, I am unique. My priorities have shifted. I don't need the rigmarole, the gerbil wheel to buy what, to go where, to drink what.
Yeah, that's as I was writing my latest book, That Sucks But Now, Real World Solutions for Getting Through What You're Going Through. I talk about the difference between success, which puts you on the hamster wheel of life. You get the success and it's like, oh, I need another success and I need another goal and I need another, versus significance, the meaning behind the accomplishment of the goal. And again, I think it's one of the things when you become a little more mature, significance becomes more important.
Yeah.
It's not about chasing the wheel anymore. It's making a bigger impact, having more positive impact in the world, everything like that. Wow, hard to believe that we've ripped through our time. How do people get a hold of you to work with you and learn more?
Well, please feel free to check out my website, ChristinCollins.com. From there, all kinds of ways to connect, all kinds of complimentary content to continue to spark this curiosity within you. I'd love to mention that there is a virtual offering to fall in love this summer, starting on June 16th at 12 o'clock Eastern every day, every Thursday for 8 weeks. We're going to go through the 8 components of Be Love and just dive deeper and hold space for folks to explore for themselves those concepts. So if you're interested in reconnecting with who and why you are, you can find that on my website as well.
Wonderful, Christin. Thank you for being here today on Champions of Inspiration.
Thanks for all that you do, Scott. You're helping inspire so many of us.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us here on Champions of Inspiration. We'll see you again, same time tomorrow. God bless.